Today, we're diving deep into something that shapes pretty much everything you do online, even when you don't realize it. We're talking about the algorithms of us.
You know this feeling, right? You click a button and bam, something went wrong. It's just annoying. A tiny little glitch. This quote, it actually comes from a Reddit user who was just trying to follow someone, and the button just wouldn't work.
Okay, but let's zoom out for a second. What happens when it's not just a button that's broken? What if something goes wrong with your entire online world, with the very systems that are supposed to connect us, but instead they start quietly messing with our reality, our relationships, even how we feel about each other?
All right, to get into that, let's kick off with our first section, a glitch in the feed. We're going to pull back the curtain on these invisible systems that are pulling the strings on what you see every single day.
You know, we all like to think we're in complete control, that we're the ones in the driver's seat when we scroll. But the reality, the truth is, there are these incredibly powerful, invisible systems, algorithms, that are basically the architects of your entire digital world. They're constantly making choices for you.
And this is what leads to that thing you've probably heard of, right? The filter bubble. Think about it like your own little personal universe of information. The algorithm watches everything you do, what you like, what you click, what you scroll right past, and it just gives you more of the same. It's comfy, for sure, but it's also super isolating.
And here's the real kicker. The reason this whole bubble thing works so well is because it taps into something that's just fundamentally human. It's called selective exposure. We are literally wired to seek out stuff that confirms what we already think. It just feels better, right? So the algorithm isn't even fighting us. It's just giving our brains exactly what they're craving. And in the process, it locks that bubble tight from the inside.
Okay, so this whole situation creates this really weird paradox. It seems like we all know we're in these bubbles, but we're not exactly scrambling to get out. So let's dig into that gap between what we know and what we actually do. Get this, a study back in 2018 looked at Facebook users and found that 96% of people believe filter bubbles are a real thing. 96%. I mean, that's basically everyone. So the awareness is there. We get it. We know it's happening. But here's the crazy part. Of that exact same group, only 31% said they actually do anything to try and pop that bubble. That is a huge disconnect, right? We all see the problem, but most of us just don't act. So what's going on? Well, that same study actually gives us a big clue. You can see it in this diagram. Over on the left, you've got things like your personality, why you're on Facebook in the first place, and your awareness. And on the right, you've got whether you take action or not. And what they found was kind of surprising. It wasn't about your personality at all. What really mattered was if you were aware of the bubble and your motivation for being online. So it's not about who you are, it's about why you're scrolling. So, being stuck in your own little information world is one problem. But the consequences, well, they can get a whole lot darker. They can actually bleed right off the screen and into our real-world psychology. And that brings us to what some are calling an empathy crisis. How these online bubbles can actually fuel real-world cruelty. The key to understanding this is something called the online disinhibition effect. It's a fancy term for a simple idea. When we're online, we feel more anonymous, more distant. And that makes us say and do things we would never do face-to-face. Now, this can be a good thing, right? Like someone opening up in a support group. But it can also be incredibly toxic, leading to all-out harassment and cyberbullying. And what's worse is that the platforms themselves often pour gasoline on this fire. There's this great quote from a cyber-psychology researcher, Daryl Norman Burrell, who says that algorithmically amplified outrage incentivizes cruelty over compassion. What does that mean? It means the system learns that outrage equals clicks. It learns that if you publicly shame someone, what he calls performative condemnation, you get rewarded with likes and shares. It's like digital applause for being cruel. So let's be clear, this isn't just a few people being mean online. It's a system. Public shaming turns into a spectator sport, like a form of entertainment for the masses. And that's the really dark underbelly of the attention economy, right? Humiliation gets monetized. Clicks on someone else's pain make the platform money.
Okay, wow, that got pretty heavy, I know. But here's the good news, it's not hopeless. These systems were designed by people, which means they can be redesigned by people. So let's switch gears and talk about solutions. How can we actually engineer a smarter and maybe even a kinder internet?
The experts looking at this stuff are basically proposing a three-part solution. There's no single magic bullet here. It's about attacking the problem from all sides. We need better systems, we need kinder communities, and we need smarter users.
Okay, so for better systems, there's this really cool idea called navigable surprise. Imagine instead of an algorithm that's like a short-order cook, just giving you your usual order over and over, you had one that was more like a great tour guide. It shows you new, diverse, sometimes totally unexpected things, but you're still in charge of where you go. It's all about encouraging exploration instead of just confirming what you already know.
And for kinder communities, we can actually look at what makes online support groups work so well. They have a kind of blueprint. This model here shows the 5 key ingredients. You need psychological safety with good rules and moderation, a shared identity so people feel like they belong, empathic communication, actual listening, real emotional support, and technology that actually helps, not harms. You put all that together, and you can create online spaces that are genuinely good for people.
Which brings us to the final, and honestly the most critical piece of this whole puzzle. You. Us. We have to develop what you could almost call an algorithmic sixth sense. This is, without a doubt, one of the most important skills you can have in the digital age.
The official name for this is algorithmic literacy, and you should think of it as a fundamental skill for being a citizen today. It's got nothing to do with being a programmer. It's just about understanding what these algorithms are trying to do, being able to spot their flaws and biases, and knowing how to use these AI tools without letting them use you.
So, what does that actually mean? It really breaks down into 3 core skills. 1, just getting the basics of how algorithms work, the fact that they're learning from you. 2, getting good at spotting their limits and their built-in biases. And 3, learning how to use these powerful tools safely and in a way that actually benefits you, not just the company that made them.
And I really want to drive this point home. This is not, I repeat, not about turning everyone into a programmer. It's about making sure we're all informed citizens who can actually participate in our digital future, who can shape it instead of just being passively shaped by it.
So I'm going to leave you with a question to chew on. Think of your feed as a conversation happening 24/7 between you and the algorithm. Every single thing you click, like, or share is you talking back to it. So my question is, what are you teaching it? And what kind of world are you telling it you want to live in?